Last time, our protagonist encountered Moro, and even with the power of fusion, nothing could really be done against him, so they need a new strategy. How will their fight with Moro go once he gets powered up again? We'll cover all that and more in this finale of What If Goku Learned Fusion Early. The Saiyans need to come up with a new strategy because obviously raw power isn't going to win here. They kind of knew that in the first place going into it, but how are they supposed to fight someone that could just absorb energy? Being strong is kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time they do need power to fight him. Thankfully they have Maris, and they decide that their best option is to train with him because Goku could tell that something is up with him, and he clearly knows more than he's letting on, at least in terms of his fighting abilities. Whis of course has been leading them towards Ultra Instinct, and it seems Maris clearly knows about something similar. Since Goku never actually went to Yardrat here either, Vegeta doesn't have the idea to go to Yardrat. It might cross his mind because he'd know that they have some weird techniques there, but Broly ends up going with Goku and Vegeta decides to go along too because he doesn't want to be left behind. So the three Saiyans end up training under Maris for the next few months. Soon enough, some of the Galactic Patrol prisoners show up on Earth, and there's not really much that they're going to accomplish here. Earth does have some pretty strong people there. Gohan, Piccolo, and Cell of course are there, and with ease all of these prisoners are defeated. Cell actually finds it kind of interesting because one of them's an android, although Cell is the perfect android, so of course that guy's not going to win. He ends up killing 7-3 completely. And for the rest of the prisoners, they're defeated with pretty much no struggle. So Earth is safe for now, and Moro also sees that they do have potential to be great snacks. So he makes sure the prisoners warn them that Moro is going to be there soon. That way these people on Earth can train up, and Moro could take their energy too. Specifically Cell. He seems quite powerful, and Moro is interested in taking his energy. He probably has a lot in store. But same for the other two, the Hybrid Saiyan and the Namekian. So now we enter that same period where they just train for 2 months. On Earth, Cell and Piccolo basically lead everyone, while Maris trains Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. Broly's focus is more power, while Goku and Vegeta are trying to break their limits and learn whatever Whis was trying to show them. And with Maris' guidance, they could probably be led to there. Anyways, just like he said, after about 2 months, Moro decides to go to Earth. Goku, Vegeta, and Broly are all on their way, and without instant transmission they can't just get there right away. But thankfully, those on Earth are prepared. First, a bunch of Galactic Patrol prisoners come in. The prisoners go up against all the Z fighters, and especially with some of them being stronger than normal, like the humans specifically, I don't see these fights being too hard. Pretty much everyone here is stronger than they were normally, or at least on par with where they were. Plus, Cell being one of the strongest people around. Not just the strongest on Earth, but even if we include Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, he's strong in his own right there too. So it's not like the prisoners can really do much against this crew because this crew is pretty stacked. Although Moro does try to give them some more energy to fight, and even with that, it's not really doing much because Cell is there. And now he gets to finally encounter Moro. Cell was waiting for this too. This should be fun. He's heard this guy's strong, and it should be a nice encounter. Through Maris, they actually contacted Jocko, who then contacted Cell. So everyone here knows a little bit about Moro, and Cell also knows what to expect, and he also does have a strategy for himself too. He's strong, but he doesn't really have anything in mind in terms of actually countering Moro's magic. But he has something a lot better in mind. Moro finds Cell pretty interesting, and can see that he's definitely going to be a good snack. The two of them begin fighting, and Cell works off of all of the info he has on Moro. What he's doing right now is just stalling, which is good for him because it means he gets to enjoy his fight, but also he's not giving Moro any more energy. Cell is really holding back here. If he shows too much of that, Moro could just absorb that himself, and then he'll get the upper hand. Some of Cell's energy is being drained, but he's handling it pretty well. He's fighting mostly defensively, and trying to just see what Moro's made of. Really, he's buying time for Goku, Vegeta, and Broly to arrive. But it's fun for Cell too. He gets to give himself a nice handicap while fighting a strong opponent. This would be great for him. I'm sure he'd find a lot of enjoyment in this. But Cell isn't the main event here. At some point, Goku, Vegeta, and Broly do arrive on Earth, and Moro's glad to finally see them again, especially because he wants to get their energy again, of course. He doubts that they'll be able to do anything here because it'll just go like last time. Sure, they might have gotten stronger, but that's not going to do anything against a guy that could absorb energy. But they do seem a little confident. First off, Broly goes up to fight, which kind of drops Moro's guard because he thinks they're going to do the same strategy again, try and overpower him and see if that works. And this is exactly what they want. Cell stalled him, and now Broly's essentially going to do the same thing, just fighting as a distraction. If Broly went all out right now, his power is actually high enough to defeat Moro at the moment. But for some reason he's not. He's holding back. And Moro can tell that Cell and Broly are doing the same thing. They're not using their full power for some reason. They know to be careful with him, and he says that's not going to work. They're going to have to use their full strength if they want to win here. Well, that's not really what they're going for. There's a bright flash of light nearby. By this point in the story, and especially after all their training with Maris, Goku and Vegeta are very content fighting together. Plus, even though they could fight Moro one-on-one, it would be a lot more fun to do this. The bright flash of light clears, and Gogeta is standing there once more. Gogeta specifically has a score to settle with Moro. He needs to fix his win-loss record. And Moro just laughs at this. They are using the same strategy again. It's not going to work. But he appreciates them fusing again because that's going to give him a good amount of energy. But that's not exactly what they're doing here. Gogeta powers up, and he does show off a lot of new power, but his form looks different this time. Well, actually, he doesn't really look too much different. His eyes and his hair slightly change, but otherwise the most notable thing is his aura being different. And Moro can tell that this isn't a normal technique. This form is something of the gods, isn't it? Gogeta showcases Ultra Instinct only. This is what he's been training for. Given how strong Moro has grown by now, he's not sure if Goku or Vegeta could have done this individually. Even with the power of Ultra Instinct, they might have just not had the power in general to defeat Moro. After absorbing Broly's energy and growing even stronger after that, it was kind of a little too much for them to handle, and it wouldn't really be smart to risk it just so they could have a one-on-one fight. Plus, Gogeta needs to get his revenge. Now the final match begins, Ultra Instinct Omen Gogeta versus Moro. At first Moro tries to steal his energy, but he can't keep up with Gogeta. Gogeta's far too fast, all of his movements are instant, and he's trying to make sure that Moro doesn't steal his power at all. He of course knows how to work around that by now, that's what he's been training for. In those 2 months, they've definitely grown a lot, not just in terms of power, but technique too. Plus, they have the strategy here. Although for these 3 Saiyans, it was more like 6 months because they did have that special realm they trained in with Meiris. The rest of the crew watches on pretty amazed too because, well, for one, it's a very powerful battle, but second of all, it's a pretty huge spectacle. Cell particularly is interested. He yells out to Gogeta, telling Gogeta that he'll have to give Cell a shot at fighting him too. He really wants to take that power for a test drive. Moro tells Cell to not get too ahead of himself. This is where they die, so he's not even going to have that chance. But Gogeta begs to differ. This is where Moro dies. Pretty quickly, the tide of the battle turns. Gogeta completely overwhelms Moro. Unfortunately, there's no way for him to return all this energy, but with some smart wishes from the Dragon Balls, maybe they could fix that. Moro doesn't even have 7-3 as a backup plan because he's dead. He tries to take energy from the other fighters, but Gogeta prevents that. He's overwhelming Moro so much that he doesn't even have an opportunity to take energy from others. Gogeta expresses that it's kind of a shame he has to do this. Moro seems like a really interesting fighter, and it definitely was fun fighting him, even under these circumstances. But he can't let him run rampant like that. Plus, he's on Earth, so they have to be extra careful here. And pretty quickly, Gogeta ends the fight, killing Moro for good, preventing any more destruction. And with that, we end the Moro arc. So, where do we go from here now? Well, the events of the General arc probably wouldn't happen without Frieza around, so we could pretty safely skim over that. As for Superhero, though, I also think that's going to be something that's going to get stopped right away. Sure, there would probably be an attempt to make another Cell, but there already is a Cell here, so once he catches wind of it, Cell would be more than enough to stop the other androids and prevent Cell Max from being awoken. Cell would actually probably be the main target of the Red Ribbon Army if anything, but it's not really like they could do anything against him here. But we still have a few other loose ends. Let's go to the future timeline for a bit. So, future Beerus temporarily did die and then eventually came back. Of course, that's kind of a big deal, so he's going to do something about that. And it eventually leads to him hearing about Gohan, the strongest warrior in Universe 7 and someone who actually trained under the Supreme Kai. He ends up going to Earth, and he wonders if future Gohan could actually be his rival. On Earth, he also finds Vegeta and Broly. Intrigued by Vegeta's power too, because it's something he's never really seen before from a Saiyan. Broly is trying to work towards the same thing, but for now, Vegeta is the only one with Super Saiyan 4. As for Gohan though, he's way above either of them. And that's the most intriguing thing to Beerus. He really wants to see more of Gohan's power, especially because this guy could be his rival. Although, one thing that doesn't really sit right with Beerus is the fact that Gohan doesn't have any sort of godly ki. But that could be easily fixed. He has more than enough power to back it up, so once he gets that godly ki, he'll definitely be a worthy rival for Beerus. The two of them fight there on Earth, and Beerus decides to go forward with this. So in the future timeline, this means Gohan actually is Beerus' rival here. But Broly and Vegeta aren't left behind. They actually do go to Beerus' planet as well. At the very least, we know the future timeline is in safe hands, and Gohan is living a peaceful life as well as growing much stronger than before. Things were pretty bad at first, but he started to turn it all around. And now he's on the path to becoming a god. Let's go back to the present timeline. Once more, looking at Beerus, except the present version obviously. So, Gogeta used Ultra Instinct, but that's not because he's the only one who could use it. Goku and Vegeta individually can use it. They both train under the Meiris. They just plan to fuse against Moro just to hedge their bets. They wanted to be extra safe here. Normally they probably wouldn't do this, but I'm going to say they go ahead and make the smart choice here. This pretty much guarantees a win for them, which it did. So Beerus is curious. Whis told him about Gogeta using Ultra Instinct, so now he wants to see it from both of them. Both Goku and Vegeta show up Ultra Instinct only. As for Broly, he's been working towards that, but he hasn't gotten there just yet. Although he's probably going to get there soon enough. Not that he's falling behind though. With Super Saiyan Blue, he's actually above them in terms of power. By a pretty good margin too. They just have better skill to back themselves up with Ultra Instinct, and once Broly gets Ultra Instinct, that's probably going to be pretty terrifying. So Beerus has a pretty good selection of rivals right now. Cell wants it too. So he starts working towards this as well, and he's probably going to be able to adapt pretty quickly. He's not going to get it instantly, but after fighting Goku and Vegeta enough, and after getting to fight Ultra Instinct Gogeta like he wanted, he starts to learn more and more about it. And Ultra Instinct Gogeta is actually enough to give Cell a challenge. He actually wins that battle. But more importantly, it shows him a lot more about Ultra Instinct that he didn't really know before. Cell is taking in all this data and analyzing it for himself. He is kind of the perfect fighter after all, and really smart to begin with anyways. At some point he probably will get Ultra Instinct for himself, and Goku and Vegeta keep working on it, eventually completing the form. They haven't fully mastered it to the level of Whis yet, but a few years have passed since the Moro arc ended, and now they have more than enough experience with the form to actually do this. Beerus really did make a good choice bringing all these four here. He wonders which of them is going to surpass him first though. Actually, he hasn't fought them in a while, so maybe they already have surpassed him. So he decides to do that. He fights against Goku and Vegeta. Sure, they've grown a bunch in skill, and they've grown a ton in power, but they're not quite on his level yet. Then he fights against Broly. Broly actually has more than enough power to back this up, and by this point, especially with Super Saiyan Blue, I'd be surprised if he didn't surpass Beerus. Even with how strong Beerus is, I mean, come on, it's Super Saiyan Blue Broly. He's above Beerus here. And the same goes for Cell. Beerus fights him, and Cell's above him too. So the real question now is, who's stronger between the two of them? Cell or Broly? Beerus is glad he got his fight out of that, and now this kind of gives him more motivation to keep training. He'll surpass them again. He is the god of destruction, so he has to become the strongest again. Well, besides Whis at least. But for the time being, he lets Broly fight Cell in order to see who's the stronger between the two of them. Now at this point, Cell actually does have some of Broly's DNA within him too, so he grows incredibly quick as well. Cell is really cracked here, although Broly's Broly after all. But from the technical side, Cell is a better fighter. He's smarter, he's more skilled, he has a wider variety of techniques, and he does have Ultra Instinct, the completed version by now actually. Plus, he does have the power to back this up. So, it looks like they have their answer. Right now, the strongest in the universe seems to be Cell, and he also might be the strongest mortal just in general actually. It's a good thing Bulma turned him good, because who knows what would have happened if Cell was actually a bad guy. Well, they did kind of see that. The Red Ribbon Army did try and make another Cell, but thankfully Cell stopped that. Cell might need to take it easy for a bit, because part of his enjoyment in fighting is fighting people who are stronger than him. And now if he's above all the gods of destruction, that's kind of an issue. But hey, he could at least take a role in training all the others. And he does see potential in Gohan, especially after what happened with future Gohan showing them that beast form. Maybe present Gohan could pull that off and show them something cool too. But as for the Saiyans here, that's who Cell has his eyes on as well. And Beerus is going to continue growing too. The craziest part is, he didn't expect to be surpassed by all of them individually. He thought, sure, maybe as fusions, yeah, he'd be beaten by a fused fighter, but no, there's two individuals here stronger than him. And Goku and Vegeta might be on the path to actually growing stronger than him individually as well. If they were to fuse right now, they're likely going to be above him as well. That is what Beerus wanted out of rival anyways. But Goku and Vegeta aren't really going to rely on fusion too much anymore. Not that they really relied on it in the first place, but it's more of a fun thing and a last resort. It's not something they'd want to use all the time. Sure, there were certain circumstances where Goku had to fuse with someone because he really had no other choice, or because it was the best way to guarantee a victory. But as great as fusion is, at the end of the day, Goku, and Vegeta by extension, both just love fighting as Saiyans one-on-one. Sure, it's really fun to push the power of fusion and see how far it truly goes, and it's useful for a lot of other people too. It saved them from a lot of sticky situations. But for the time being, no more fusion for them. They're gonna get so powerful that they won't even need fusion ever again. And while Vegeta does like Ultra Instinct, he wonders if there's maybe something else for him out there. He kinda just learned it because he went along with everyone and trained under Mayris, and because they saw that as the only way to defeat Moro at the time. But Vegeta's probably gonna try and branch out and see if there's anything else. As for Goku, he wants to get Ultra Instinct to the level of Whis. No, beyond that too. He'll keep on growing, and so will the others. Saiyans have no limits after all. And with that, we end off our scenario here. What do you guys think about this story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps with the channel and it shows me you want to see more stories like this in the future. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.